Have you ever noticed that some people walk into a room and instantly capture everyone's attention? Their words sound convincing, their presence feels powerful, and people naturally listen to what they say. At first, it might seem like confidence or charisma, but often something deeper is happening. Behind the scenes, subtle psychological principles are shaping how people respond to them. These small mental triggers influence trust, attention, and even decisions. In this video, we'll explore 10 fascinating psychological tricks that quietly influence human behavior, and once you understand them, you'll start seeing them everywhere. The first psychological trick is called mirroring. Human beings naturally trust people who appear similar to them. When someone subtly mirrors your posture, gestures, or speaking rhythm, your brain interprets this as familiarity, and familiarity builds trust. For example, if someone leans forward during a conversation and you gently do the same, a subtle connection begins to form. This technique is widely used in negotiations, leadership, and professional communication, because when people feel understood, they feel comfortable, and when they feel comfortable, they become more open. One of the most powerful sounds in the world is the sound of our own name. Psychologists have discovered that hearing our name activates areas of the brain associated with attention and emotional significance. When someone remembers and uses your name in conversation, it sends a subtle but powerful message. It tells your mind that you are important, that you are seen, and that you matter. In social interactions, this small detail can instantly strengthen connection and trust. Silence can be surprisingly powerful. Most people feel uncomfortable when a conversation suddenly becomes quiet. When you ask a question and allow a moment of silence afterward, the other person often feels an internal pressure to keep talking. They may reveal more details, more thoughts, sometimes even more truth than they originally intended. This is why skilled interviewers and negotiators often rely on silence, because sometimes the most powerful response is simply waiting. Here is a fascinating psychological phenomenon known as the Benjamin Franklin effect. If you want someone to like you, ask them for a small favor. It may sound strange, but psychology explains why this works. When someone helps you, their brain subconsciously searches for a reason to justify the action, and often the reason becomes simple. They begin to believe that they must like you. In this way, a small favor can quietly strengthen a relationship. Humans naturally value things that appear rare. Psychologists call this the scarcity principle. When something seems easily available, we assume it will always be there. But when it becomes limited, its perceived value increases dramatically. Scarcity creates urgency, and urgency motivates action. This principle influences everything from shopping decisions to social interactions. Something as simple as nodding your head can influence a conversation. When you nod while listening, you silently communicate agreement and encouragement. The speaker begins to feel more confident and comfortable. This small gesture encourages them to continue speaking openly. Sometimes influence doesn't come from speaking more. Sometimes it comes from showing that you are truly listening. Another fascinating strategy is known as the door in the face technique. It works in 2 simple steps. First, a large request is made, one that is likely to be rejected. Then, a smaller request follows. Because our minds naturally compare situations, the second request suddenly feels reasonable. What once seemed normal now feels like a compromise. A sincere compliment can have a powerful emotional effect. When someone receives genuine praise, the brain releases chemicals linked to reward and happiness. However, authenticity is essential. People can easily recognize when praise feels forced. But when a compliment is thoughtful and sincere, it strengthens trust and connection. Because appreciation is something every human being values. Perhaps the most powerful psychological trick of all is listening. Not simply hearing words, but truly paying attention. In today's world, many people are waiting for their turn to speak. Very few are actually listening. But when someone feels heard and understood, trust begins to grow. And where trust grows, influence naturally follows. Sometimes the strongest voice in a conversation is the one that listens the most.